My name is Eric Latif. We have Siti Muga, Nduoko, and Dr. Mercy Karir, our guest host for the season. We know there are a number of cases that have been confirmed in the country. How many do we have, Ndu?
In the country, 31.
31 cases in the country.
Yes.
One of the confirmed cases is a man called Stephen, and he's joining us now on the line. He's going to give us his experience. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for talking to us. This is a situation room. Asante sana and karibu.
Yes.
Now, Stephen, you are at Mbagathi Isolation Ward.
Yes.
How long have you been there?
I have been here for 3 days now.
Sorry, we didn't get that.
I have been here for 3 days now.
3 days.
Yes.
So we can say that, is it 3 days ago that you were tested and confirmed positive of COVID-19?
Yes, I was tested yesterday, but one.
What is your history of? Was there a history of travel? Was there contact with somebody who had tested positive previously?
No, I traveled from Switzerland
Mm-hmm.
after the country in which I live ordered schools to be closed.
Right.
Yeah, and at that time I had some slight cough.
Mm-hmm.
When my temperature was checked at school,
Yep.
it was just okay. So I thought it was just a cold, like many students had, and they got well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when I went to Geneva and used the Emirates,
Yep.
all the way to Dubai, where we had a layover time of about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I traveled to JKIA.
At JKIA, you were screened again. Of course, in all those other airports, you are still being screened.
What they did was just to check the temperature.
Yeah.
And those who had a fairly high temperature were taken to a different place, and I think they were advised accordingly.
Right.
Yes.
How was your temperature throughout the journey?
My temperature was, I think, 36.4, and I was tested at JKIA.
So at what point did you start experiencing the symptoms, develop the symptoms?
Well, I can't be very sure of the precise time because when I was at school, I was feeling, I had some cough as I've shared with you.
Right.
It kept getting on better. And so even when I was at home, I did not have any of the symptoms. I thought I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But after some time, I was feeling very weak. And so I thought it wise to just go to hospital and check.
How long ago, how many days prior to turning up at Mbagathi had you arrived in the country?
I arrived at the country on the 16th.
Yep.
And I was supposed to use the 5:40 flight to Kisumu, but unfortunately it had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a night in the Western Hotel before resuming our journey next day in the morning.
So what made you then realize that there was a problem? Did you take yourself then, or developing symptoms after some time? What made you then take yourself to hospital?
Yeah, I think for me, I was actually suspicious because I thought maybe I was suffering from malaria.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing that came up was that I was feeling very weak.
You were feeling weak?
Yeah, and so when I went to hospital, I tested positive of malaria.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I shared my travel history as well, and just while at hospital, my temperature went so high, and I think the doctors thought twice to consult the Ministry of Health. Mm-hmm. And they were advised to take me to Baghdadi in an ambulance.
Okay. Stephen, kindly walk us through your journey. Like when you arrived at the GKI, is it that you went to Western, or were you in quarantine at home? Which facility or which hospital did you first go to? Can you just walk us through that journey from when you arrived? You say on 16th?
Yes.
Yes. Could you just walk us through that so that we have a picture of what happened along the way?
So I had booked a flight from Nairobi to Kisumu prior using the 5:40 airline, but the airline had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
So what the passengers demanded was that the airline should take care of them because it was not their fault that their flight was cancelled so late.
Yep.
And so the airline decided to, I think they made some calls and decided to take us to Western Hotel. where we spent the night, and then the next day in the morning, we were allowed to travel to Kisumu. So from Kisumu, I took one of the matatus called Bungoma Line, which took me all the way to a place called Sabatia.
Right.
From there, I traveled home on a boda boda. Yeah, so at home, I tried to isolate myself, and it proved quite difficult, especially with my close family members.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was not showing any signs. I did not feel anything that prompted me to think that maybe I had the virus. Yeah, so later, when I was feeling very weak, I think my dad carried me on a motorbike all the way to Life Care Hospital in Bungoma.
Yeah.
He had thought of going to St. Mary's Hospital in Mumias, but he thought it was very crowded and it might take a lot of time before I'm attended to. Yeah, and that's why we went to Life Care Hospital in Bungoma.
So the self-quarantine measures that you had been advised basically did not, they didn't work, because first you mingled with people from the airport, you went to the hotel in Nairobi, you boarded a flight to Kisumu, you boarded a matatu to Sabatia, you took a boda boda home, you mingled with your family members.
Yeah, but usually after the self-quarantine measures,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone who maybe talked to us about it. And those who were told probably are those who had high temperatures and they were asked to go to a different place where they were advised from there. For the rest of the passengers, all the way from JKA, they were just allowed to proceed with the journey.
So at that time, like that's what I was saying, because if you had presented with any of these symptoms, then you would have been in a separate group, is what you're saying, essentially.
Yes.
So because at that time, when your vitals were being taken, you hadn't presented with any symptoms. So is that why then you were comfortable to then go ahead with travel, because you didn't feel you didn't have anything?
No, I think for me, it's very difficult because I had to travel all the way from Geneva, and I was using an airplane.
Yeah.
I also had. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
continue.
Yeah. So and I also had to travel all the way from Nairobi to Kisumu,
Yeah.
then to home because I did not have any other means of getting home.
Okay.
And in addition to that, I had not shown the symptoms. And so I felt confident that probably I was not okay. But I was observing all the other measures where if you're supposed to maybe sneeze, make sure you're sneezing in your hand, avoid shaking hands, and all that.
I'm curious. When you were at Geneva Airport and then you went to Dubai, tell us a little bit more about the measures they had at these airports.
Now, well, at the airport, there is nothing special that was done at the airport.
Geneva,
At Geneva Airport,
Dubai.
nothing completely because when we alighted, the only thing they did was to check our temperatures
Yeah.
and then we proceeded with our journey.
So people just mingle as they normally would on a normal day without the coronavirus.
It's not a normal day because everyone is taking care of themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
that's the only-
you're observing the social distance measures and all.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So how did you get to Mbagathi from Bungoma?
I was ferried in an ambulance. Yes, all the way to Mbagathi.
Yeah.
I had my dad and my brother with me. Yeah, and I was told I was a suspect. And then I was advised to stay behind while they were advised to go back home to be quarantined from there.
How did they go back home?
They went back on the same ambulance.
Okay. Okay.
So when you got to Mbagathi and now they told you that they advised you that you're a suspect case.
Yes.
This is when now they did the tests,
After some few hours, my samples were taken,
right?
and then the results came the following day.
I see.
So
Yeah.
how are you feeling, or what symptoms do you have, or have you had since then? How are you feeling generally? We have some people that are with you in Bagath who say that this particular virus is causing some unexplainable degree of thirst. So how are you feeling?
Well, I think the case varies with people. And for me, I think this disease is very deceptive because I honestly don't feel I should actually be in hospital.
So you have no
Yeah.
symptoms right now at all. The fever has gone down.
The fever has gone down,
No
and I'm
coughing.
feeling okay. No coughing at all.
Have you coughed at all since arriving in the country?
I can't remember.
Right.
So probably not.
Joint aches and all.
Sorry?
Joint aches.
Any-
Joint ache? No, not really.
So, of all the symptoms that we say that we've been told would come along, you're not feeling any right now, even though having gone through and the results of this test were positive.
So I think initially I had a cough when I was still in school, and
In Geneva.
that got
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got well, and I was fine, and I thought I was actually okay. Yeah, and I also had temperature when I was checked at the hospital at Bungoma.
Okay. Stephen, tell us now about the Mbagathi isolation facility. Are you in
Yes.
a ward by yourself? How are you getting served food, medication,
it
and all?
like?
How is it like?
I think it's bearable. We are in our own rooms, but the rooms are quite spacious, and they have a maximum capacity of 4 patients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they are not. The beds are not filled as of now because we have fewer patients.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise everything else is okay. We are getting food, though sometimes we are sad a little late, but we're getting food.
So, Stephen, about your contacts, how did the ministry officials or the people who got in touch with you, how did they list these contacts? What did they ask you? Did they take name? How was this contact tracing done by the ministry? Or what did they require from you so that they know who you have contacted, where, and how to reach them?
So I've been working closely with them, I think for the whole of yesterday.
Yeah.
And one, they wanted to know the flight number of the flight of the plane that I took from Geneva to, from Dubai to Kenya.
Yep.
And then I also shared information about the 5:40 flight,
Right.
and they tried to also question me on if I can get the names of the people whom I talked to or had contact with during the time when we were waiting for the flight from Nairobi to Kisumu. And then from there, they also asked about the details of the vehicle that I used traveling from Kisumu to Sabatia, and if possible, to also provide information of the boda boda who carried me home. And they also have the family's details, and I think the county government of Kakamega is working with them to make sure that the disease does not spread further.
Do you know if they've been able to reach anyone of these people that you may know, like your family members, the boda boda guy? Do you know if they have made any contacts whatsoever?
Well, I don't know. Maybe for my family, yes, but for the others, I'm not quite sure. Yes.
Is your family in quarantine as we speak?
Yeah, my family is in quarantine. They were advised by the county government to stay at home.
Yeah.
And I think their samples were supposed to be taken. I'm not sure if they have been taken yet, but I think they were to be taken.
To the best of your knowledge, are they observing the quarantine?
To the best of my knowledge, they can't leave home now. Yeah, and I don't know how the county government is working on trying to make sure that they can still get food and all that, but I'm sure they're at home.
How has this experience been like, Stephen, psychologically, mentally? Like when you are told you're a suspect, you get confirmed, now you're in isolation. How would you say your last 3 days have been like?
I think for me, my greatest fear was coming to isolation and knowing the sense of boredom that comes with it. But otherwise, I was very positive about the disease, and we had been cautioned earlier of the dangers of panic. So that is why I actually made that video trying to encourage Kenyans to take this seriously, but not to necessarily panic. So I'm taking it very positively.
That's good.
Are there any people that you're with at the isolation center who've been confirmed or who are still suspects who are quote unquote crashing under the pressures of all of these things?
I have not seen any so far. I've only seen one who spent most of the time in bed.
Yeah.
But when he needs something, he just gets up, goes to get it. So I'm not sure if he's in deep pain, but I think he's okay. Yes.
How many are you in your ward right now? You say it's a 4-person ward and it's not full. How many are you?
We are 6 in our ward.
All of you positive?
Yeah, all of us are positive.
How are the others faring?
The others are, I think one is a French national, and I don't know about the other. So I've not been able to speak to them because I can't speak the language. For the fellow Kenyan citizens, we have been speaking to each other, and most of them seem to be good.
Are all of you there because either you have traveled or come in contact with somebody who's traveled or come in contact with somebody who's positive, or are there people who have just been random?
Those that I know who are here, most of them are here because they have actually traveled. Yes.
So you say you're not exhibiting any of the symptoms right now. You're feeling okay.
Yes.
What did you say of the other 5 when you speak to them? Are they saying the same, or are there some who are coughing, talking about high fever?
Yeah, there's some who are coughing.
Yeah.
And there's also a close friend of mine I just met here, and he told me he traveled from Zambia. He says he's feeling, there's nothing that he's feeling that is strange or new. He has experienced similar feelings before, but he has some slight difficulty in breathing.
Right.
Yeah.
There are Kenyans who are asking if you're in isolation, what kind of treatment or medicines are you getting while there?
Well, I think that maybe varies. I'm not sure because I've not yet received any drugs. But my friends were given yesterday vitamin C, and I think maybe other drugs that probably the doctors thought appropriate.
Do you have an indication of when you can go home or the process of them discharging you to go home? Do you have an indication of that, or do you know how that process will be like?
Yeah, well, I'm very hopeful that it will be soon, and we're told that our samples will be taken after every 7 days.
Right.
Then when we test negative, we can be allowed to go back home.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, Stephen.
Thank you.
And we appreciate and we wish you all the best.
Okay, I'm very grateful.
Keep staying strong and keep recording the messages that you say you're recording, and you're posting them on social media.
Well, I just posted one, and it was all targeted at fighting panic.
Right.
And I think that's all I wanted to do. I don't think I have anything else.
That's all you wanted to say. It's important, I think, that if you've already started, telling us how you are, just keep telling us how you are. It's important that we rally behind you.
Just share a last message.
Yeah.
With people that one, I think we must make sure that people are taking this seriously. But we should also avoid, and this is the fellow Kenyans, we should avoid pointing fingers and maybe asking what the government is doing and asking what doctors are doing, and ask ourselves what we ourselves are doing as Kenyans to protect the elderly and to protect those who have other conditions that might make them more susceptible to the adverse conditions of this disease.
Very good message.
Otherwise, thank you very much.
Before I let you go, Stephen, what has become of your initial diagnosis of malaria? What have the doctors told you about that?
I tested positive.
Have they tested again since you came to Mbagathi?
Sorry?
Have they tested again since you came to Mbagathi?
Malaria?
Yeah.
No, I have not tested again. They were just advised by the hospital to continue the medication.
Okay.
And I was given some AL drugs that I'm using currently.
Asante. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Stephen.
We wish you well.
Thank you.
Stephen is a Kenyan patient who's tested positive through COVID-19. He's currently at the Mbagathi isolation ward.